Welcome to Different Walks, Different Talks. So without further ado, this is our actually second podcast. New guest, we have Callum Smith.
Guest.
So do you want
Hi.
to tell us a bit about yourself, Callum?
Sure. My name is Callum. I'm Angus's friend, I hope. I met him really in like grade 11, but we've been at the same school for all of high school, pretty much. I am born and raised here in Southern Ontario. They know that the podcast is being, it's here, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I was born in Hamilton. I'm 18 years old, and I'm going to attend McMaster University next year.
All right.
Life sciences.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's some basic background right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Just looking at my question, actually.
Yeah?
This question is quite abrupt, and it doesn't make sense if I just ask it right now. So let's
Okay.
first talk a bit about your job, because you worked 4 years at Glen Eden at the summer camps.
Yeah, kind of.
So if you want to just talk about
Sure.
that.
Well, I have
Experience.
I'm a camp counselor, a day camp counselor, up at a summer camp in Milton, right in the Kelso Glen Eden like area. I've been doing that technically for 4 years. I worked the summer between grade 9 and 10 in as a volunteer, right? Because I had to get volunteer hours for our graduation requirements. And then I suppose they were short staffed that year, and I made a decent enough impression to get hired. So I worked the last 3 weeks of the summer there. And I've been coming back ever since. And I'm returning this summer for my 4th year.
Okay,
Yeah.
and just for the audience and stuff, like what exactly did you do at the camp? Because I know you did construction, but you can talk a bit. Like you did
Sure.
some sort of camp? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what did you do? Yeah.
The way they organize themselves, they have a bunch of different streams for different age groups and different activities.
Oh, cool.
So they have like, they counsel kids ages 4 to 15, right? So they have like their general streams where they do different activities around the area. So they do swimming, archery, different types of like hiking sometimes, field games, general camp stuff that you'd think about.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's specialty streams, right? Usually for the older groups, and you do things like construction, right? So we have like a little wood shop with like, basic tools like a hammer, nails, handsaw, a miter saw for the counselors to help with larger cuts, that sort of thing. And kids will be guided through like a little project, either making like a tool house or a toolbox or a birdhouse, that sort of thing.
Toolhouse and a bird box.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
okay.
and then we have like some climbing facilities around.
Oh,
We
okay.
have a
That's cool.
big-
Some rock climbing stuff.
Yeah, like a huge like climbing tower.
Like a tower, right?
Yeah, that you've probably seen.
Oh, it's a big camp then.
Yeah, it's pretty large. It's been growing recently.
Wow,
as well.
that's great.
Yeah, well,
How many kids do you think goes there?
Ooh, I don't know. Definitely.
Give some rough estimates, because you did work there. Just throw it out there.
Yeah, throughout the summer, definitely like a few thousands, I'd say.
Thousands.
I don't know.
Thousands. Wow.
Maybe no, but maybe this is wrong. No. Okay. Maybe like 500 per week, something like that.
Oh, so like when they come here, do they do like different stuff every day? So construction's only like Wednesdays?
No. Okay. So it's on a per week basis, right?
Oh, it's a per week basis. How long are they there for then?
They're there for as long as their parents sign them up, but it renews every week. So you pay for 1 week of camp, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and then it gets renewed each week, right? So like some kid can go to camp for the whole summer, and they can say like, I'll do, construction camp this week, climbers camp next week.
Yeah, that's
right.
Fun.
Yeah. So those kids might last the whole summer, right? There's some kids who go for 1 week or 2 weeks. So you just say like 500 or 600 people or kids, right, are passing through each week.
Oh.
So there might be return camps.
And like, so were you in charge of the construction camp? Or did you do some other rotations? And then yeah. And then what was like any funny stories about kids or anything? Any weird kids? Any different things that they did? Like so I'll talk a bit about.
Yeah.
I did tennis summer camp. Did it for 1 year. Yeah. So I was there. The kids were normally pretty nice to each other, but then there was this one time I had a group of like little girls. They were like 6 to 8, and then they were fighting each other and not wanting to hit with each other. So like you have to comfort them a little. Yeah. So like that sort of thing does arise. It's really rare. But did you have any of that?
Oh well, I mean, okay, so the construction camp, those are like mostly for older kids. I think this year was like 12 to 15-year-olds, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So they were generally like a better group than most. I've been on some really young streams, right? Like as a counselor, because you get moved around a lot. So the first year I was there, they put me on their kinder camp, which is like ages like 4 to 6. So they're super tiny, right?
Yeah.
They're pretty funny to deal with. Just like a lot of crying, like a lot of feels like you're a daycare counselor, right? The kids who have like accidents, their backpacks are so heavy they just like fall over
Really?
that weight.
Like,
yeah.
oh, wow.
So those are silly to deal with. There's some troublemakers for sure. Like we've had some return campers, right? Who just like cause trouble for other kids and stuff. And send them home, right? But then
really?
they come back like, call their parents and stuff. But it's okay. It's fun to deal with. I don't. Those aren't the things that I remember the most out of camp.
Yeah.
I remember like
good memories overall.
Yeah. Some of my bosses have to deal with like more rough stuff. I think one of my bosses got peed on.
What?
Yeah.
Peed on by a kid? Like
yeah.
Kid,
I mean, yeah, he was like 7 or something, but 5 or 7. Yeah, so silly stuff like that.
Okay. If you don't mind, if it's not a sensitive topic, would you want to talk about like the pay of your camp?
The pay?
And how it was?
Sure. I don't know. Like I made, okay, well here's the thing. It sounded like a pretty good deal. And it is. I'm happy with the pay that I get.
Okay.
Right? I think I got paid 17, maybe a little bit more an hour for my first year there.
Yeah, right.
Yep. And at that time, it was like decently above the minimum wage.
Yeah.
But, here in Ontario, wage keeps getting raised a lot, it feels.
And it does go on to my first actual question.
Okay, yeah.
Is that, do you think minimum wage is keeping up with the inflation rates right now? And I told you I was going to have some big questions, and you wanted them. So here we go.
Sure.
First one.
Well, I don't know. I'm not an economic.
No, we're not economists. We're just kids talking about this from our perspective, our biased.
I haven't taken a business class in high school.
No, I have barely scraped through Mr. Caruso's class. I was playing like video games every day.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say we're qualified to talk about
I wouldn't say, but
it's a big issue in the news.
Talk about it, right?
No, of course, yeah.
From our young perspectives and
obviously where we live, right, and the time that we live in, things are very expensive. So it's very hard to survive on a minimum wage right now. Terms like minimum wage and living wage are brought up a lot in contrast. Because minimum wage in conception, I think, was designed to be a wage that you can pay your worker where they can support themselves, right, at the bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
If you get paid more, then you can afford more entertainment and extra things to do, But now people can't really support themselves even on a minimum wage job, right? So minimum wage keeps getting raised and raised to try
and combat the inflation price, I guess.
Right? Yeah, but really, I don't... for a lot of the information I've seen out there, it doesn't seem like it's been keeping up, right?
Okay.
Like it's so hard to, just the way that things are right now.
Yeah. And then from our perspectives as students, I want to ask you as a student who've done a job, right? And there's many more that are looking for jobs and have done jobs. How do you think the student wages currently? Do you think?
Oh, I forgot there was a difference between that.
Yeah. Do you think it's okay right now? Like I'm not too sure. I haven't worked too much. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the student wage is decently fair, right? Like
what is it again? Sorry.
Even I. You know what? You'd have to look that up.
Okay.
You want to take a break? You want to check that now or no?
Sure, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Go for it.
I'm assuming it's somewhere like 15, 16.
Really? I thought it was 17.
Really? So what's minimum then?
I thought minimum was 18 right now.
Oh well.
I'm not too sure. I should have done this. Earlier.
Okay. Homework. Student wage, according to Gemini says it's 1660. And then something published April 1st, 2025 says 1620.
Okay, so based on let's roll with the 1660.
Sure.
Do you think it's fair for students right now, an hour of work they get paid 1660?
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, just because it's under 18, right?
Okay.
Like most of the people I know who have student jobs are doing it, I would say, not out of necessity, but just because of, you can have like amenities. Like you can go get a coffee every once in a while, or order in food, pay for concert tickets.
And buy some random stuff they want to buy,
some random stuff, right?
Okay.
Of course, there is the exception of students working to pay for university and that sort of thing. But I'd argue that compared to minimum wage, it's not bad. It's $1 less, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And once you turn 18, you can earn minimum wage, right? You're required to earn minimum wage.
Yeah, right.
Right? So at that point, it becomes an issue of whether minimum wage is sufficient for people. Right.
Okay. So it's a bit different, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So student wage, you think currently is pretty fair, 1620, 16.
Yeah, I think the difference between student wage and minimum wage is fair.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
$1 dollar more, dollar less. Yeah.
Okay, I would say like the only case when it might not be fair was just like, you know, the recent Minecraft movie. Our friend Nathan Hall, he works at Cineplex. And you know the meme going around where everyone goes chicken jockey, they throw their popcorn, throw their drinks. He said this actually happened at Cineplex. Like, and he had to clean everything. Oh my gosh,
that would be
that's devastating work right there.
Yeah. Oh. Well,
yeah.
I mean, okay.
But normally the cinemas is pretty chill job, I would say. It's just a
Right. Well, concerning student wage, right? I feel like that's more just an issue with minimum wage in general, because minimum wage workers have to do the same thing.
Right, exactly. Like and it kind of doesn't feel fair if like a minimum wage adult worker works like gets paid. Do you think that's a problem if they get paid the same as a student?
I'd say so.
It feels derogatory to the adult, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just...
Well, I don't know. I suppose it's something with upper management in the movie theater, you know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, of course I'd say like pay them more, right? But they're being paid out of the pockets of the franchise owner, who isn't always like super, super rich, right? I'd say.
Everyone's trying to earn their dollar pretty much.
Yeah, right. Other than like the higher ups, right? Like CEO of Cineplex, I'm sure, you know, has some money to spare, but it's not about that.
Yeah, no, it's a different issue.
Probably. It is. Yeah. So I'd say they should just have better policies to prevent that. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
I'd hate to work. Yeah.
The policymakers there, they share their job. We could say. All right.
Sure.
Let's moving on.
Okay.
To our current generation, right?
Yes.
So everyone knows that ChatGPT about like when did it come about? 2 years ago, you would say.
I remember
it became big. I remember I got it at the very end of grade 10, and I was like, this is gonna change everything.
Okay.
And then
I've known about this. It would be like late 2022, right? Like end of first semester, grade 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you maybe earlier than me.
Well, my brother was really interested in it. Mostly.
Oh, okay.
Well, he's a university student, so
right.
Word travels fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right.
And I remember using it. Did I use it? I remember a lot of talk around it in history class. Maybe it was because I was sitting by you.
Oh, okay. Did you use it ever in that grade? What did you think about it? Like your first impressions of ChatGPT? It's probably blurry now, but you could think about it. What do you?
Well, I just remember thinking I didn't think much of it, to be honest. I thought like silly writing tool. I didn't think it would like.
So you're right. All right.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't think it would like expand as fast as it did.
It exploded pretty much.
Yeah, and the whole industry, like it wasn't a talking point that it is now, right? Like a lot of people forget that AI has only really been in.
It's only been in the game for like what 2-3 years now.
Yeah, well, it was science fiction before, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'll tell you, when I first saw AI, like I was like, this seems like Google Siri. You know what I mean? I asked it a question, it gives me an answer really fast. But it's just Siri. Like Siri already did that pretty much. You know what I mean? It's like a quick web scraper. Like web scrapers are like things that scrape machines and it gives you one answer pretty much. I was like, that's probably all it's gonna do. But now it could like solve different math. Like you throw it anything, it could solve it pretty much just from the data trained. And also like, so when I do calculus homework right now, and at least in grade 12 calculus, ChatGPT has advanced so far that it can give me the right answer to pretty much all the questions. And when I ask it stuff, it could explain it to me in a way I understand it, and it just helps a lot. And plus, when I do English or anything and I don't understand like literary pieces or anything, I would first try, before I would go on Spark Notes and different things, and then I'll hit the freaking paywall pretty much like every 1 time out of 4. It's gonna be like, okay, here's the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner analysis. Pay $5 a month to get it. I'm not gonna get it.
No, it's the same thing.
So that's just the issue. That's what pushed me into more like AI stuff, because it's pretty much like answer, because their stuff is trained from like databases they're not even like allowed to probably before like access. But so now I have all the answers from there pretty much. Yeah,
for sure. Well, it really it cut a lot of like businesses who would charge like students, you know, for information on whatever they're learning. Like I know Photomath was huge before.
I never used Photomath.
No, I didn't use it a lot, but I knew people who did.
Yeah.
And I knew that there was a big paywall.
A lot of like cheaters that use Photomath too.
Well, even in homework, right? Like you're describing.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. You take a picture of a homework question, it'll tell you the answer, but it won't tell you how to solve it unless you pay for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, that's what it used to be. I don't know how.
I never used it. Yeah, it's definitely not like that now with AI.
Well, no, because of course now you can just go to ChatGPT, take a picture of the problem, and it'll solve it in whatever level of detail you want now. Like you were saying, it's kind of hard to distinguish that gap between Siri and
but now I feel like it's easy to distinguish the gap, right?
It's easier.
Do you think so?
Yeah,
I think it is.
I think in some ways I'm thinking like, you know, asking ChatGPT silly questions, right? Like I think today in bio I was asking it who it thought it was hotter objectively,
All
or something like that. Yeah, to win an argument with Gabby, right?
All right.
And I was like, it reminded me of asking silly questions to Siri.
Right,
you know?
Right. Especially with ChatGPT with the voice mode.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about that. I heard a podcast, and it was a revelation to me, actually. This person uses ChatGPT voice mode, and he'll just go on walks and stuff. And whenever he has ideas, he'll just talk to it, and it's like a he called a storyboard or something. I don't know that's the word, but basically all his ideas and spontaneous thoughts that he had that could become projects eventually, it gets captured through his conversations with ChatGPT.
Well, that makes sense. I don't know.
It's pretty interesting way to use it.
There's a lot of applications, right?
Yeah.
Because it's neat. I guess where it differs, and you feel it from a web scraper, is it can think on its own, and it can do things beyond the scope of like asking it to do a Google search, because that's essentially what Siri does, right?
Yeah.
It adds like a little, yes, Callum, yes, Angus, here's the answer, and it has some jokes in it, right? I think, but essentially it's just searching something up on Google and giving it to you faster. Whereas AI can take information and then rebuild it, right? Like take it and rebuild it on its own.
Yeah.
Like whereas if you ask a math question to Siri, it might look to see if anyone solved it online before. Yeah, right. And if no one has, then now
it goes to Google Gemini.
Yeah. But ChatGPT then would say, okay, well, I have access to all these calculus textbooks. I now, through my AI model, I know how to solve calculus because I read all this. Yeah. Right. So now I can take this like integral and I can solve it for you.
All right. So AI, I'm honestly very scared for the future, because I feel like we've caught the wave of this uncertainty somehow when we were born. We somehow born 06, 07. We caught this wave of this AI coming in, and we're going into uni. AI is exploding. It's doing like things that we've never thought it could do. And what do you think about AI and jobs? Do you think it's going to take over a lot of jobs, or just make life a whole lot easier? What balance do you think is going to be created there? Like,
I don't know. I mean, I think there are a lot of jobs opening up within AI as ones that AI is taking over are being lost.
So you think there's a balance between the loss, the deficit, and like more jobs created?
I think so. I don't know any hard data, right?
Okay, right. Just from your point of view.
Yeah, but people are comparing this a lot to when computers were made, right? Like people were so terrified of computers because they were able to do this and that. Right? Like you remember your teachers in elementary school saying like, don't use a calculator. Calculators are silly. They're just like a little, I don't know, they're like a gimmick. It's better to know how to do it in your head.
Really? Did you?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't remember that at all.
No, maybe it was different. Right?
Maybe different from right.
But I know
really? So they did say that.
That was an argument, right? Growing up to learn like mental
I thought calculators was a big thing already though.
It was, right? But
I guess the times table, they still want you to know it, right? Memorize the times table.
Okay, but if not my generation, then the generation before.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Right. And those inventions would take away jobs from like people like accountants, like designers, organizers of different kinds, right? Because it could all be done on a computer, and then you would eliminate the need for these 10 workers in your company, right? And in the same way,
it created more jobs, I guess, computer scientists, software designers, and a lot of other ones these days, right?
Exactly. So, people would then be hired to work on computers, though, right? And all of a sudden,
it becomes a tool.
Yeah, you need someone for computer upkeep. You need somebody to make sure that computers work more efficiently. The point is, the jobs lost are being filled
with new
in other sectors, right?
Right.
So I'm hoping that AI does the same thing, right? It's not just going to eliminate jobs and be this thing that crushes
a monster that crushes all of society.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot more jobs are going to integrate computers into them, AI, like they did with computers.
Okay. I feel like one thing that really surprised me with AI was that as a kid, I really never thought of AI, but I thought of AI as something, well, not really. Okay, no, sorry. It's not really about my thoughts as AI as a kid. It's thoughts about what job will be the last to be replaced as a kid. And my thought was creators, like completely, from your imagination, like artists, right?
Yeah.
But now we see AI art is just everywhere. Yeah. And it's kind of like they're using the same type of art that was already created by people.
Yeah.
But it's still sometimes when you give it like a good prompt, it could create something like it seems kind of new. Yeah. And I'm just really scared about like how AI is taking away creative jobs.
Sure. Well, okay. I think the appeal of art, right, or the meaning of art, has something to do with the way that the human brain works, right, and is able to express their ideas in an abstract way, you know? And because of that, right, because it requires, because it's impressive, because it's humans creating art, AI can't quite fill the same void. Like, I think AI can create impressive paintings and images, right? But I wouldn't say it's art, Like,
why? Just there's no human connection behind the work piece. Do you think that's what's missing? Like, there's no artist.
Well, I think
that's what you're saying.
That's what's exciting about art. That someone was able to do this, right? Like, I think people love Van Gogh, right? Partially because it's very pretty.
Monet, Van Gogh.
Sure, yeah. But also, I think a lot of people love his paintings just because of everything that went on behind them. Like the individuality of him, like the expressions. You can see his brushstrokes, right? They're intentional, right? And they reveal something about the person behind the painting. The way that Vincent van Gogh saw the world is portrayed in his art, and that's really beautiful. So I'm not saying that there isn't some field of the art world that isn't going to be dominated by AI, right? Because I think it's interesting, to try to analyze what goes on behind the computer's head creating this image, right?
What about like a master prompter? Like
I don't know.
Okay. So a lot of the times now, people use AI, at least high school students. Yep. They use it in a very elementary and silly way. So they'll write an essay in class, right? They'll be like, I am going to write an essay on the Great Gatsby. They'll write for 30 minutes. Their head is going to hurt. They're not going to know what to write. Their thesis is all muddled up. They don't have the structure. They really don't know like what to do. And then they'll go, ChatGPT, write me the Great Gatsby essay based on this topic. Yeah. Give me something. That is just such a bad way to use ChatGPT. Yeah. Like, you can first build your thesis, right? And then you can build it and you can ask it for some advice that could give you some advice, some elements. And then you can just like go back and forth and through like different like it's basically a tutor there to help you if you know how to ask questions. A lot of people now struggle with AI because they don't know how to ask the questions. They haven't used it. A lot of people shun AI because they feel like it's just bad, it's going to take over jobs. But I feel like at this rate, the people that don't catch up with this technology, they're going to get left behind, just like every revolution, right? Right now, a lot of people, they don't really acknowledge the fact that you can use it for so many things. Right now, I'm trying to learn how to code. I'm going on learning boot camps and stuff, and then sometimes a concept to me will just be kind of muddled there, so I wouldn't know. But then my problem will be I don't have enough problem sets to do it, right? So like when you do math, right, you just learn a new thing such as integration for calculus, okay? And then to really strengthen that, you have to do a lot of problems, a lot of like homework, right? This way your brain gets it. And then it's hard to find the question banks because you're going to hit paywalls. It's going to be hard to find on the web. So I actually asked ChatGPT, and it actually gives me like level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5 coding challenges going up. And it's just such an amazing tool. Even when you're stuck, you can get it to give you hints and stuff like that. So actually, from nowadays, people 1 year ago, actually, they said prompting will be the next big thing in ChatGPT, whoever prompts the best. Yeah. And there's also, I read an article about this one artist that created an AI art, right, that he prompted. So he used like some sort of prompt to make this art. And then there was a whole article written about how people can perhaps still feel the connection to the AI art, not through an artist directly, but through the prompter that made the art. So what do you think about that, like, perspective on this AI art? Because there's still a human behind to prompt it, to make it, right? But then the prompt goes into this massive machine, it pulls data from every random stuff, and then it produces something. Do you think there's still sort of connection there or no?
Okay, tell me if this is a terrible analogy, right?
Okay.
Okay, back in like the day, before cars were around, right? Things like that.
Like Ooga Booga times.
Sure, right? Think about like ancient Greek Olympics.
Okay. Right? Okay. Gotcha.
So the human feat for speed, right, was to see how fast someone could run 100 meters, 500 meters, kilometer, whatever. Okay. Right? And that was like, everybody thought of that as like this great human peak and like how fast we can go, right? And whoever won the Olympics for that subject, right, was like the fastest person alive.
All right.
Then when horses came around, right, some guy riding a horse could go much faster than that guy who won the Olympics. Right?
True.
And then he claimed to be like the fastest human alive. And everyone was like, no, that's stupid because he's using something else.
Okay.
And the same thing happens when cars were invented. you know, and when I don't know, planes, and we kept getting faster and faster.
Yeah, right. We keep getting faster and faster, but I don't think anyone
different tools. Right?
But I don't think anyone had a 100-meter dash race between a man and a horse and a car.
No, of course not.
It's still the human dash.
Okay, right. But the point I'm trying to make,
what's your point?
Right, is that, you know, whenever there's a new thing that comes about that kind of pushes our the field forward, right? And using it like a tool, right? Mm-hmm. People will say like that's unnatural, right? That's no good. Don't use that because it's not like authentic to us, right? But you know, I think now today, anyone who says like whatever, it's not really impressive to go fast in a car because you're not running, or not impressive to like go fast in a plane or a horse or whatever, right? It's silly, right?
So are you trying to connect this to the AI? So what is your perspective on it? Do you think it's silly to credit the prompter and have an exhibit code, Callum the prompter of AI art, with his all of these different types of AI art that he prompted at an art gallery? Do you think that's silly?
I just think it's a different realm, right?
Different realm, perfect.
Like you can't compare, you know, something painted by a human person.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's like a completely different field.
Yeah.
You can't compare that to actual art, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Right? Because you're using different tools, right? It goes beyond like using it as a different medium. It's like a completely different league.
Right. It's not even a medium, right? I get what you're saying. So like, it's not even comparing someone that sketches to someone that paints, right? It's not even like that. It's completely different.
It's beyond it, right?
It's beyond it. Yeah. But, you know, from my perspective, okay, I want to ask you one question.
But that doesn't mean it's not art.
Yeah. Okay, do you think that this will happen in the future? Like, you will go to the Toronto art exhibit in 10, 20 years, and then you're going to see some guy's name called something the prompter, and then you see a whole gallery of his AI art. Do you think that's possible? And what would your gut reaction to that be? Be honest here.
I mean, gut reaction, I don't think that's right.
You know? You hate it.
I don't hate it.
No?
But I think like...
You'll be like, oh, this is weird.
It is weird.
And I don't know how to feel about it because it's AI and human at the same time.
I feel like right now I'm thinking like, okay, this is similar to, you know, idiot contemporary artists, right?
Okay,
who like tape a banana to the wall.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, like, you know, my gut reaction is to say, no, take that down. Like, that's silly, right? To compare
take all those galleries down. All right.
Yeah, to compare that to, like, something as great as, like, Monet, right?
Okay, I see. Yeah.
But I think it has its own place, sure.
Yeah.
Right? And it can be art. I just think it's less impressive. You know what I mean?
Me too. Yeah. Because you're not really painting, right? You're prompting.
Yeah.
And prompting's like, you're using words. You haven't studied the composition. You haven't studied the hues, like the paint and what goes on beyond the painting. Yeah. Like, you could argue that. But then what if the person, right, their prompt style is so unique to them right now? Okay, so right now people do Studio Ghibli, right? So images become Studio Ghibli style. What if someone prompts something so uniquely that they create their own style? So they create their own style, and then all of their art in that gallery is that of their own style. But then they use like some sort of thing so different prompts, but the same style. What do you think about that? And it's a unique style that you've never seen.
Okay, well, first of all, I don't know how ChatGPT works, but you know, from everything I've seen, you know, all the AI images generated, right? Like, they can't really push the envelope, right, with how different artistic mediums or styles are created. They more just they're used to take other styles, right?
Right.
Like, if you ask ChatGPT to generate you an image of something, right, it's gonna like look at
the best it's gonna do was for something new right now that we think was like merging some two styles together, right?
Yeah,
creating a weird fusion of something.
Yeah, but I feel like even then it's I don't know, it's not quite original. Right? And there's always an element of like randomness in ChatGPT.
But maybe that's like the beauty in it, you know?
Yeah, but
the prompt.
Okay, but then like, do you credit the AI? Do you credit ChatGPT and who's the CEO?
Oh, the people that built it? Sam Altman.
Yeah, Altman, right? Do you like put him in the credits? Yeah. I don't know. It just feels like there's too much.
Right. There's too much people.
Too much being left up to ChatGPT to do the work for, right? Like, where do you draw the line? Between like, I did this versus ChatGPT did this.
Yeah.
You know, what? I don't know. I can't think of like another analogy, right?
Yeah, it's weird. We're going into weird times. This just shows the weirdness that AI is going to bring for us.
Well, see, it just depends on how you view it, right? Is it a tool, or is it just like some machine that you stick something through? And yeah.
So going on this tangent.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So do you think in the future, like your kids and us, do you think we should code? Or do you think that once there is so much AI and so much tools to help us create things, that creativity could be the new safety net for people?
Ooh, wait, like, okay, do I think the most secure job in the future is computer science?
Well, pretty much, okay. Do you think coding should become a fundamental skill, how we teach math and English and stuff like that in schools?
No.
No. Okay.
Not quite coding.
Okay.
I think the closest we're going to get is prompting.
Prompting.
Yeah. Just like how you learn typing, right, in school to work with computers, right?
Right.
Yeah, but you don't learn how to build the computer itself.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, because if you're treating it like a tool, right, you shouldn't learn like how to, I don't know, replicate it, right? Like you're never going to be able to create ChatGPT on your own or something like it. You can if you do all the computer science. The intention, route, guys. But the intention is not to make everybody able to create their own personal ChatGPT.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, more just how to work with it, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, actually. So, okay, let me give you an analogy first. Right now, if you're doing trades and stuff, right? Physics is not going to be of great importance to you. You want to do the co-op and you want the experience, because like many of the times when you're doing construction, like renovating a basement, for example, you don't need to know the physics or anything. You just need to know how to do your job, right? And sometimes learning physics would just be a waste of your time. And sometimes this is actually close to what coding is going to be. Okay. There's so many new AIs now that you don't even need to know Python or C or other things. There's a thing called vibe coding. Have you heard of vibe coding?
No.
Vibe coding is pretty much, I feel like in the next 5 years it will become a thing.
Yeah.
Pretty much you'll be able to code with English. With English, with natural language. So you do not need to know for loops. You do not need to know grammar and syntax. You've done a bit of computer science. You know how for loop, at the end, you got to do a semicolon and then space, and then there'll be a lot of syntax errors and things won't work. And for loop is basically someone wants to have this idea of a loop, right? So they made a for loop, right? So they made it a language. But in the future, AI is able to just convert your English natural thoughts into code. And people have been creating things such as that. So I agree with you that coding in the future might not be needed. And if you just know how to prompt and know how to create, I feel like creativity in the future might be the biggest, most important thing.
I feel like that's very limiting though, like vibe coding or whatever you're talking about.
What do you mean by limiting?
Well, I think you need to, if you're going into computer science, right, or something where you want to use vibe coding, you should absolutely know the theory behind it and real computer science. Because, it's very limited in that applications, vibe coding.
It helps with, like, if you have some fundamentals, it will help for sure.
Well, maybe it's easier for sure, right? Like vibe coding. But I don't know if you know what Scratch is, right?
Yeah.
You know what Scratch is, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to pick up, like I'm not, 9-year-old Callum or Angus wouldn't pick up Java or C as easily.
No, definitely not as easily as Scratch.
Right, but you can make like a website in Scratch or like AI models, that sort of thing. Right, so ease of use is great for something like
coding. So you're comparing vibe coding to Scratch.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to stop you there because I feel like that story is wrong. Because I've heard a recent podcast called a guy called Peter Levels.
Okay.
He had basic computer science knowledge, so basic. He didn't have any advanced or intermediate. He had very basic things. And with using all these AI tools, he had a thought of code. I'm pretty sure it was like 12 startups in 12 months. And he would go into a lot of wars using AI to code things, and he will make these really bad, like shitty startups, right? That's just like, those images, like you put your face into it and it wears different clothes and stuff. He did something like that. So it was like really scrappy build. But he said that for him, he didn't really learn a lot of the fundamentals, but he just used AI to build his things. And whenever he reached like some sort of like a war in his knowledge, he'll use AI and it'll teach him a little bit, and then he'll just use that scrappy knowledge to build this whole project. And since then, he's actually created 20 successful startups and raised $30 million as a solo entrepreneur. So I feel like it is kind of it's going into a field where we didn't even think it's possible. Personally, I wouldn't think that story was possible until I heard the podcast when he was talking to Lex Friedman.
Okay, well, I suppose in those applications, sure.
Yeah.
Vibe coding, whatever, right? Like what you're saying, he just he created like silly apps like put your face on somebody or
and other things like that.
Yeah,
he also did some maps and stuff like that.
Okay, I would say in those applications, sure, right? But he didn't earn all that money, and his startups weren't successful because he's an excellent coder and he was providing something that
he was just like doing a lot.
He was just an excellent businessman, right? And he was able to sell himself properly.
No, He was solo entrepreneur.
Okay, but
he did everything by himself, and he didn't raise funding. And his startups were like they were kind of like different. I'll give you one example of one. Okay, maybe this will help you a bit. He made a thing called hood maps. So he'll go to different places, and he wants to see some places that are more touristy, some that are not. So he made this Google map, and we can go on this map, and we can just draw on it like it's some really funny map. You just draw red for touristy, not red for tourists, blue for something else. And he created this whole project, and I went on it. It feels really like organic, like someone made it. Some solo person made it, and I guess this did help, and it did fill in some sort of thing that was missing in society, because a lot of people actually ended up using it. If you load this up, you can see Ontario. People have been drawing on this map, and yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like in the future, really, like perhaps it's all about creativity because of all these AI tools.
Yeah, but it's more about that. So yeah, there are some applications for vibe coding, sure, right? If you're going into computer science, though, right, then you don't learn that, right? You should learn how to build things from scratch. Like, it's not the most efficient way to do things.
Well, right now it's not, but I feel like in the future perhaps it might be. That's what I'm saying.
I disagree, right?
You disagree?
I think, well, okay, like I said, there's applications to it, right?
I feel like
those are more like they're comparable to things like Notion AI that might use like a ChatGPT similar engine, but like I don't know, it'll reprogram ChatGPT to help you plan out your calendar or something like that.
Right.
But computer scientists and people going into software engineering or design like you should be learning the building blocks, right? Like C, Java, going down to like even binary, so that
he did learn some of the basic coding.
Okay,
for sure, like some HTML and stuff like that.
Yeah. So if your goal is to be like him and create, different startups and cool websites and activities like hood maps, sure, like you learn that. I think I don't know if you want to go into like research and you want to be at the forefront of AI.
Yeah, I agree.
Then you absolutely have to learn
theory.
Yeah.
Theory. I feel like that makes a lot of sense.
But you're saying he's more like a trades worker.
Yes, he's like a trades worker in the coding sense, and it already opened my mind when I first heard of that, because I never thought of coding as to trades, right?
Yeah.
No one would think of that, but I feel like maybe we're evolving to a level where it kind of becomes trade. If you vibe with this convo, drop a like, leave a comment, and hit that sub button. We'll catch you next time on Different Walks, Different Talks.